When the runner decides not to run anymore, what motivates them? The runner doesn't run forever. There comes a moment when they stop running, and this decision doesn't happen suddenly. The decision to stop usually unfolds slowly, seeping quietly into their awareness after months, sometimes years of inner reflection. It is not a dramatic moment of realization, but a gentle awakening that happens within. But what motivates this decision? What stirs within the runner's soul to make them pause and turn around? What makes them stop escaping a connection that once terrified them? The process is rarely visible from the outside. It is quiet, delicate, and deeply personal. So, what motivates a runner to stop running? Why do runners finally choose to face the connection after months or even years of avoiding it? Facing the real source of fear. First, we must understand that the runner isn't always running from the chaser. It's easy to believe they are rejecting the other person, but in truth, they are running from parts of themselves they are too afraid to face. Their fears, their pains, their insecurities, all the emotional wounds they've buried for years, start to surface in the presence of their twin flame. This connection acts like a mirror, reflecting everything they have tried to suppress. It exposes their weaknesses, their unhealed trauma, and the truth about who they really are beneath the masks they've worn for so long. For the runner, this reflection can be overwhelming. They may have spent years building a version of themselves that feels safe and controlled. But when their twin flame enters their life, that illusion begins to shatter. They are forced to see the parts of themselves they've ignored, the wounds from childhood, the disappointments, the fears of rejection, and the pain of vulnerability. And because they are not yet ready to confront these emotions, they feel threatened. The easiest reaction is to flee, to create distance and silence. Running becomes a coping mechanism, a way to escape the intensity of what the connection reveals. Yet even as they run, life does not allow them to remain stagnant. The journey of the twin flame runner is not one of avoidance forever. It's one of transformation. Life's way of forcing growth. Since life has a way of forcing growth, runners are compelled to evolve even as they run. The separation phase becomes their greatest teacher. While they may try to fill the void with distractions, new relationships, work, or emotional withdrawal, none of it truly satisfies them. They might go through painful experiences, karmic relationships, or periods of loneliness and emotional collapse. Each of these situations acts as pressure on their soul, pushing them towards self-realization. Over time, they begin to see a pattern. The same lessons keep returning, the same emotions keep resurfacing, and the same emptiness persists no matter what they do. Slowly, they begin to open their eyes. They start to understand that the problem was never the connection, it was the fear of facing themselves. They begin to recognize that no matter how far they run, the connection remains within them. It cannot be escaped because it exists at a soul level. This realization doesn't come overnight. It often builds up through small awakenings, moments of clarity that strike unexpectedly. A song, a dream, a memory, or even a random encounter may remind them of their twin flame and the peace they once felt. These reminders soften the walls they've built, allowing self-awareness to bloom. The power of distance and silence. Ironically, distance is often what helps the runner see things more clearly. When they are apart from the chaser, the noise quiets, and they can finally hear their own thoughts. The silence that once felt like freedom begins to feel like emptiness. The runner begins to miss the chaser, not just emotionally, but at a deep soulful level. They miss the energy, the unconditional love, and the feeling of being truly seen. They remember how alive the connection made them feel, how it stirred a sense of purpose and passion within them. This nostalgia becomes a mirror of its own, one that reveals how much they've changed. They start to notice that they are more self-aware, more open, and more honest with themselves. The fears that once drove them to run begin to lose their power, and that's when something shifts inside them, the readiness to come back, not out of guilt or pressure, but out of genuine desire to reconnect. The shift in energy. Another decisive factor that motivates the runner to stop running is the energetic shift that happens when the chaser stops chasing. In the beginning, the chaser's energy is full of longing, anxiety, and attachment. They might try to reach out repeatedly, hoping to fix the situation. But when the chaser turns inward and begins to heal, something miraculous happens. The energy between them changes. When the chaser starts focusing on self-love and spiritual growth instead of pursuing the runner, it sends a ripple through the connection. The energetic cord becomes lighter, freer. The runner, who was once repelled by the intensity of the chase, begins to feel drawn back, not out of obligation, but out of resonance. The runner senses that the chaser's energy has transformed. It no longer demands, it simply is. And this calm, accepting energy inspires them. They too begin to feel the pull to heal, to let go of fear, and to reconnect with authenticity. They become tired of pretending, tired of running, tired of building walls that only isolate them. What they start craving is something real, something raw, something profound, and they remember that the one person who gave them that was their twin flame. When the runner finally stops running, it doesn't mean everything goes back to how it was before. This is not the end of the story, but the beginning of a new chapter. Reunion doesn't erase the wounds or the lessons learned during separation. Both the runner and the chaser must continue to grow, rebuild trust, and communicate honestly. The connection now has to be grounded in balance, not obsession or fear. It takes immense courage for the runner to return. After a long period of absence, they often fear being rejected, judged, or not forgiven. They replay the past in their mind, wondering if it's too late. But when the soul reaches the point of readiness, the fear of staying disconnected becomes greater than the fear of returning. Coming back, for the runner, symbolizes more than just a reunion with their twin flame. It's a reunion with themselves. It's the moment when they decide that healing is more important than hiding, that love is worth the risk. The real reason the runner stops running. In the end, the runner stops running not because they were forced to, not because the chaser begged them, but because they were finally ready. Ready to face themselves, ready to accept love, ready to connect at a deeper, soul-aligned level. Their return is an act of surrender, not to the chaser, but to truth. It's an acknowledgement that what they were running from was never the other person, but the mirror that person held up to their soul. When they stop running, they step into a new vibration, one of authenticity, healing, and conscious connection. The reunion is not just physical, it's energetic, emotional, and spiritual. It's the moment when both souls finally align with the lessons their connection was meant to teach. A message to the chaser. So if you are the chaser and you've been waiting, know this: your healing is part of their return. You don't need to chase, plead, or convince them to come back. Your role is not to fix them, but to continue healing yourself. As you rise in your own energy, you create space for the runner to increase too. Your transformation becomes the silent call that reaches their soul. When you stop chasing, you stop feeding the cycle of fear and control, and instead, you start radiating the frequency of unconditional love. And that's when everything changes. The runner will not return because they felt pressured or guilted into it. They will come back because they want to, because they have chosen love freely, consciously, and completely. In truth, the journey of the runner and the chaser is not about who returns first, but about who awakens first. When both souls finally choose growth over fear, that is when the true union begins. Not as two incomplete halves, but as two whole beings who have finally come home to themselves and to each other.